lovely people, Nina here. So this week I finished reading How the Word is Passed by Clint Smith, and let me just say that when I started this book, it was such a hard read to get through. The premise is that the author Clint Smith goes to these different historic sites and talks about what happened with slavery in these areas, and how these are places that Americans might not know, like, the actual history of what happened there. He goes from things like, there's one about a prison called Angola Prison that was built on a slave plantation. I knew nothing about this. I didn't even know about, like, the prison. There's one about a Confederacy group. It's like Veterans of Confederate Soldiers or something like that, which is a group which also has connections. In his book, he talks about their connections to the KKK. Did not know about this, did not know that this Confederate soldiers, veterans group still existed. And the Women of Confederate Soldiers, I think it's called, it is known for, like, resurrecting statues and getting statues put up of different Confederates and people tied to the Confederacy. And I didn't know anything about this, and it's really interesting because he, like, interviews people that he goes to, like, a Memorial Day, like, event that this Veterans for Confederate Soldiers people put on, and there's a mass cemetery for Confederate soldiers, and they talk about their version of the history of the war. And oh my god, I was reading this, and each story that I read, I was like, my mouth was like on the floor. Like, I was like, I didn't know. Like, our history books just don't cover this, and they don't have this in our school system. Like, American school systems fail us so badly by, like, not including, like, the actual history. And this is just it's honestly so hard to read, because you're like, this is, like, the America that I live in, and oh my god. But it's so important to read, because if we don't read stories like this, we can't learn from it, and we can't learn the history then. And in order to be better and to grow and to not have, there's so many different stories in here where you're just like, how did this even happen? And how it can continue to happen is by not reading it and not learning from the past. And you look at what's happening currently now with even something like redistricting that is happening, and among, like, a million other things, but with our current presidency and how it feels like we're going back in time. I really recommend that you read this book, because things can potentially get worse unless we learn from them. And I just think that this is so important to read, and he did such an amazing job, like, captivating the story and just keeping it so honest. And his writing is just phenomenal, and this was a phenomenal, although very hard to read, book. To learn the true history of slavery and the true history of America, and what it was actually like. And yeah, this is a 10 out of 10, amazing. Read about history and learn from it, and when we learn from it and when we read it, we can do better. So, yeah. That's this book. 10 out of 10. Please read it. If you read one book this year, make it this one. If you read one book this month, make it this one. I suggest you take time in your day sometime this year and pick up this book and read it. Yeah, I think it's just extremely important. So that was How the Word is Passed by Clint Smith. Yeah, please, please, please go read this. It is phenomenal. His writing is amazing. It is very hard to read. And you will see that when you, literally the first story, I was like, the very first story in this is the Monticello plantation, and it talks about Thomas Jefferson and how, honestly, not the best dude. And the history of that. Also, there's the actual history of Lincoln in this. Yeah, just, I'm not gonna spoil all of it, but please, please read this. Yeah, so 10 out of 10. I really liked this. It was a difficult read. So yeah, that is all for this week's video. Let me know down below what you've been reading in the comments. Let me know if you're going to read this, because I really think you should, or if you have read it. Yeah, that is all for this week's video. I love you all. As always, free Palestine. And I will see you next week. Bye!